Hi, Aquarius, and welcome. Welcome to your April horoscope. I hope you're excited for April. And if you watch any of the other astrologers here on YouTube, then you might have already heard a couple of things about the month. You might have heard that it's going to be intense. This is because we have solar eclipse, we have Mars conjunct Saturn, and we also have Jupiter conjunct Uranus, which doesn't happen very often. It happens only once every 14 years. So let's get into some more details so you know exactly what to expect during the month of April. On April 3rd, we have Venus conjunct Neptune in your second house. This is such a beautiful conjunction. Honestly, it really represents this unconditional love and a type of love that transcends day-to-day life and that really goes beyond and acknowledges that we're all connected and we're all one. And because this is happening in your second house, I really see this as directed more internally for you, Aquarius, that it's almost like a realization you have within yourself that you can only provide yourself that type of love. And it might feel really healing and really powerful, and is something that can build up your self-confidence in yourself. On April 5th, Venus enters your third house, or the sign of Aries. And right as it does that, it sextiles Pluto, which is in your first house. I talked extensively about Pluto through each of the 12 houses, and you can watch the video right here on that. But just as a TLDR for this horoscope, Pluto in the first house is going to ask you to become a leader and to not be afraid to lead everybody else to where we need to go and to evolve as a society. So yeah, it can be quite a big task for sure. But for this specific sextile between Venus and Pluto in April, it's almost as if the way you're communicating is really helping you step up in that leadership position. You know, having Venus in the third house can really represent a type of ease when it comes to communicating, and that can make it much easier for you to lead others and to be able to function in that leadership position. On April 8th, there's a solar eclipse in Aries, or your third house. A solar eclipse means that both the sun and the moon are conjunct in the sign of Aries. And they are conjunct in the decan ruled by the sun. This could mean that the actions we take during the solar eclipse are more motivated by our ego than really our true inner selves. So just one thing to keep in mind, don't make any permanent decisions around the solar eclipse. And another thing to keep in mind during the eclipse is that Mercury is retrograde. So things that we say might be easily misinterpreted. You know, for you, Aquarius, the solar eclipse is especially happening in your third house. So for you especially, there's a huge focus on communication and on communicating in instinctual and passionate way. And I can imagine that maybe around the solar eclipse, you're still figuring, okay, where are the boundaries around that? And you know, perhaps one of the days that you do communicate in a more fiery and passionate way, it oversteps the boundaries of others, and there's a little bit of tension or friction there around that. On April 10th, Mars conjuncts Saturn in your second house, or the sign of Pisces. Mars is an active planet, and especially in your second house, you might be feeling like you want to put some actions forward to improve your self-confidence, to improve your financial situation. But Saturn might be slowing them down or putting a halt to them. You know, it's sort of like you make an appointment with your bank to talk about like, hey, how can I improve my financial situation? And then the appointment gets canceled, for example. Keep in mind that Saturn still wants you to get to your final destination, but it wants you to consider if you're doing it the right way, if you need to change approaches, and if you're being mature with the way that you're approaching this end goal. On April 17th, Venus conjuncts the nodes in your third house. Because this is quite close to where the solar eclipse occurred, I do think this is a wonderful day to reflect back on the solar eclipse. What did you learn? Especially now that you're a bit more removed from it. Hopefully you're not as emotionally charged around it. And you can really reflect back on it objectively, and be able to continue to adjust and apply the lessons that you learned. On April 20th, Jupiter conjuncts Uranus. Finally, we're there. And they conjunct each other in your fourth house, in the sign of Taurus. One thing to keep in mind is that the sun has also just entered the sign of Taurus, and that Mars will be sextiling the conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus. So both Jupiter and Uranus have been traveling through your fourth house. Jupiter just for a year, and Uranus for a lot longer than a year. Jupiter has hopefully brought some really beautiful sort of crescendo moments when it comes to your family and your home. You can think about you're looking for a house and you find very easily the perfect house, falls perfectly within your budget. It just sort of lands into your lap. But at the same time, because you've had Uranus in your fourth house, Uranus might have brought with it ups and downs. It might have brought the highest of highs when it comes to your family and to your home, but also the lowest of lows. And with this conjunction, it's almost allowing you a moment to consider what each of the planets has taught you, and if there's a way to merge them together and to apply the lessons from both and sort of adjust the way you view and approach both your family and your home. Just a day later, on April 21st, the sun moves a little bit more into the sign of Taurus and then squares Pluto in your first house. So again, we talked a little bit about Pluto in your first house, but because this is a square between the sun and Pluto, and especially between your fourth and first house, there could be a bit of tension around this day. And specifically, it could be some tension that's maybe coming from your home, from your family, that's making it difficult for you to really step up into this true leadership position. But it could also work the other way. Perhaps you really showing up as a leader in your day-to-day life is not leaving as much time for your family. On April 24th, there's a full moon in Scorpio in your 10th house. The sun is in Taurus in your fourth house. There could be something that happens in your home or with your family that shines a light on some hidden parts about your career that you didn't consider before, that you didn't see before. So there might be a piece of insight that comes about. Perhaps it's really something happens in your family that shows you how much you actually overwork while you're at work, that you actually put in a lot of overtime hours. And you just, up until that point, you had no idea that you were actually doing that. On April 28th, Mars conjuncts Neptune in Pisces in your second house. Aquarius, this is a really beautiful aspect to have in your second house and your house of finances. On this day, you might be taking actions that are motivated by this sort of unconditional spiritual type of love for the rest of humanity. To me, it really screams like making a huge donation to a not-for-profit. But it could be other things as well. It could be that you are taking actions to contribute financially to others, or taking action to really help solidify and improve your own self-confidence as well. And finally, we close off the month Aquarius on the 30th of April with both Venus and Mars returning to places where they feel a bit more comfortable. Venus enters Taurus and Mars enters Aries. And it's really a nice way to end off a crazy month because we are returning a little bit more to the easy way of things. Both Venus and Mars are returning to places where their energies feel a bit more aligned. They flow a little bit easier. And you might notice that in a way that you find it easier to express yourself, both the more difficult parts of you as well as the easier parts of you. So overall, Aquarius, a big focus on communicating this month, big focus on your finances as well, and your family. So I hope you enjoy working on all of these different parts of your life and all of these different facets of your life. And let me know how the month goes for you. Are you excited? Is there a transit that you're the most excited about? Let me know in the comments. If you want to make sure that you catch the May horoscope, then also make sure you subscribe. I hope to see you again soon.